Hey guys, so today we're going to be going over how to do the basics of building. Now this is just going to be a general tutorial on how to use this reference, in particular how to make it into a block 8 building. I wanted to take this introduction to just quickly say that you do not always have to completely copy a build to the exact T using like a reference. Sometimes it's okay to use your own features into the build if you think it's going to look better. The frames on the porch actually angle outwards, and you'll see in the background that I haven't done that. That will be changed near the end of the video. So to start it off, I already had the porch pre-built. I've left the reference at the top of the screen so you can look and reflect on how it compares to the actual piece. So I started off by planning out my walls. It's always a good idea to plan first, and I always will stick by that, because if you rush into things too quickly, you're more likely to make those big mistakes you're going to regret when you get further into the piece. So I'm now just carving out the rest of the piece. I'm currently working on that far left wall you're seeing, and after this we'll be moving on to windows. A general tip for the walls would definitely be to use layers if you're not using a reference like mine. The layers really help and give you depth into your piece, and they're easier to work with. Okay, so the windows have started, and you'll start to notice this is actually the first part of the build where I'm not following the reference exactly. I decided to make the windows a little bit bigger just because it was bothering me how small they were in proportion. I think my decision was a little bit better. If not, you can tell me that in the comments below, but I personally think it was a better choice than having really small windows, because having a lot of empty space on your walls can make it very hard to decorate. Changing the shape of the windows really depends on the piece, but I think that any shape really could have worked here as long as you knew how to blend it with the roof. I definitely kept the square windows just to try and keep a lot more of the original reference in my piece. I'm sure a lot of the more regular builders have seen the tile patterns that you can use on roofs. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but sometimes it's easier to use the smoothed pattern. I recommend for smaller builds definitely sticking with just wedges or concaves or convexes. Right now, my biggest tip would be to use pillory and then go into small, because it gives it that rounded effect going from steep to rounded. The other way round can sometimes be a mess. There are so many types of shapes you can do. I'll probably put them on the screen once I'm done editing. This is more of like a barn shaped roof. As you can see, it's quite big and large, and you can definitely like see the second floor quite a lot, and there's room for a window. You may be able to tell in this background recording right now that I was off center entirely. This is why you actually need to take into account pillars, because if you're doing a pillar on one side and you thought the rest of your build is symmetrical, it can actually really throw off your center point. So it really highlights the fact that you need to plan beforehand, because what I did was entirely preventable. I'd also like to mention thank you for watching this far if you have. So I would like to just go into detail about how this is just me building to try and show you what a full piece looks like. So in the comments, if you would like to let me know any specific tutorials you want to do with building, it could be interiors, exteriors, anything you're struggling with, maybe it's even positioning or planning, just let me know. Because this will be part of a series of me trying to get content creator and also helping you guys by bringing tutorials to the community. I also thought about when I was making this, I also might make some videos on commands, because I realised there are a lot of commands that people are confused about. Sadly, I'm not a mechanic, so you'll have to leave that to Unfunny2 and the other amazing people that make the content for mechanics, but I can help you with building wise. Also, to make it clear, this is mostly just a base of a building. I would definitely say you'd need to go back and do more decorating to the outside and around, especially colouring and materials wise. That may require a couple changes to the build, but this is more just to show you how to put it together. Now we are finally on to the little side parts in a roof. I'm not really sure what they're called, but I had a lot of changing around with them, and you'll see that I have a lot of cuts because they just weren't in the right place for me. And that does happen sometimes. Sometimes you'll find that you can never get it in the right place, and it takes some time, and that is okay. So usually you would have a window inside them, but like the rest of the build, this is just a plan, basically, just a structure. So I'm going to leave them open in the roof just to show the outside kind of features of it, because I'm not going into detail right now. If you would like me to go back to this piece and go into detail, I always can. So like I said, there are a lot of cuts, and I explained that in the past, but I am going to go over what's just happened. I found out they were a bit too close, so I moved them one far apart from each other, and then I realised they were a bit too high up. So once again, I moved them down a level to try and make them feel a little more in line with the windows. As you might remember in the beginning of the video, I said about how my frames were wrong and I was going to fix them. This is the start of me doing the side roof and realising that the plan wasn't going to work, because if you're looking at the reference at the top, there needs to be a roof there, and it just wasn't working out. So I have then decided, and I'll put on the screen now, a single design of what a new frame will look like. You can also see there's lots of adjustments to the roof here, where I'm deciding that an overhang is usually the good option for a roof. It stops it feel like the roof is blending into the wall, and more that it's sticking over the top like a natural roof. If you think of gutters and stuff, it always tends to overhang. My poor attempt at a transition, I'm guessing, did not go unnoticed. Yeah, so that is the final build. I hope you enjoyed. And just to clarify, I am not the best of the best, but I am here to try and help you go from beginner to intermediate.